It's not what are you going to do, but what do you get to do? Who do you get to help? Who do you get to serve? With all these skills you built up, with all these networks, with all these big brands you've worked at. I think the brands I got to work at, the companies, as other institutions of learning, it's not just UPenn. I went to school of Real. I went to school of Mattel. I went to school of PepsiCo. I went to school of Amex. These are all great universities and learning environments. So now that I have all those skills and all those ways of thinking and all these tools, who do I get to help? Who do I get to serve?
In today's world, how does a brand break through the noise and become iconic? Join me, Jason Harris, as I speak with the world's leading marketing experts about how they use soul and science to build an iconic brand. Think of it as EQ meeting IQ. So let's lock in and together fast forward our marketing minds on the Soul and Science podcast. Welcome to the Soul and Science podcast. Most marketers are told to pick a lane, but Stinson Parks III has built a career by refusing to be pigeonholed, from leading global campaigns at L'Oreal, PepsiCo, and American Express to focusing on purpose-driven work in accessibility, youth, and the arts. Stinson has proven that versatility is a superpower. In this episode of Soul and Science, we're going to dive into the soul and science of building a career that's broad, bold, and impossible to put in a box. Welcome to the podcast, Stinson Parks III.
Thank you. Pleasure to join you. Been too long.
That was a good intro, right?
Solid. Amazing.
Solid. Yes. I got pumped you up. All right, Stinson, we obviously have known each other for a while, back in the Pepsi days, did some work. Tell me a little bit about your origin story. Maybe like even start with like where you grew up, what you studied, how you got into marketing.
I'm glad you asked that because I was lucky enough to discover marketing very early on. When I was in high school, I grew up in LA, very humble beginnings, actually 5 boys, one mom most of the time, parents were divorced, and I went to school in Brentwood. And went to school with this kid named Jimmy Iovine. And for anybody who has been around music, they've heard the name Jimmy Iovine, the founder and CEO of Interscope Records. And I was hustling, hungry little kid. And I approached him one day on the schoolyard and I was like, Jamie, I know who your dad is. I want to do music. You think you could hook me up? And he was able to get me a role assisting a guy who was the VP of marketing for television and film at Interscope Records.
How hard was that to get that gig?
I mean, I took the initiative and I approached Jamie, and it was basically just asking the question.
Were you guys tight?
Yeah, we knew of each other, but we weren't close.
Oh, a lot of people maybe don't act. Like maybe they're like, no, I don't want to bother him. It'd be cool, but I'm not going to push and ask. Maybe that's why it worked out because you were one of the people that asked,
I doubt people really asked because one thing about that school is a lot of people were well off or, did well for themselves or came from, successful families. So I'm not sure if a lot of people asked him that question. So I got the hook up and basically I was, his name was Tony Tyler. He did all the marketing for TV and film. So basically the man who, plays music in TV shows, commercials, movie soundtracks, anywhere you could get music or hear music that was outside of Sam Goody or Capitol Records for all my old folks out there who were around before the days of streaming and YouTube. So you basically promoted or marketed music outside the primary channel. So that's the first time I heard the word marketing. I literally was like, wow, I'm interested in this. Maybe I'll explore this when I go to college. Went to UPenn and actually took Marketing 101 my freshman year. And all my advisors and everyone in the school was like, Stinson, are you crazy? Even students in Wharton, which is a business school, which where I took marketing, they weren't even taking, Marketing 101 in freshman year. So they're like, do you really want to do this? I was like, I think I have an idea what this is. I took Marketing 101. I did well in it. And that's what opened my doors to my further interest in marketing specifically. So that's what led to my internships while I was in college at Mattel Toys, what led to my career in marketing after college. But I really just got lucky to find what I loved early on.
Then you studied marketing. So
actually I didn't study marketing. My major was communications in Edinburgh School. So I studied, communications in the college. And my minor was consumer psychology, which is marketing at Wharton and psychology in the School of Psychology. So very liberal arts and very holistic when you think about it. as far as what a brand manager or a marketer does: crafting a message and story, communications, convincing minds, psychology, and marketing, understanding what your product and your message is, right? So it was actually very liberal arts, but I used that to then, intern at Mattel Toys. And while I was entering there, one summer I was on the Hot Wheels brand management team. I was like, wait a minute, not only is there marketing, there's brand management. Brand management team is a team that literally leads a brand for these large organizations. And I was like, wait, that means I get to run a business for a bigger business. I like the sound of that. That's where I started figuring out I want to be a brand manager, which that's my, the rest of my roles.
Give me like the kind of trajectory of the roles.
L'Oreal,
Yeah.
tried out a little bit of wine and spirits.
How
That
long
went
were you at L'Oreal?
for a little over 4 years. I was in their
Okay.
executive training program. So what that was is I love that program. It was a rotational program. So the first 2 years you rotated around sales, finance, customer marketing, and the last role you're on the brand team. And that allowed you to learn your key cross-functional partners that you worked with on the brand side, understand their roles better so you'd be able to be a better partner by the time you're in the brand role. And then by the time you're in the brand role, got shot straight up to the higher ranks. And by the time I left there, I was actually leading multicultural men's business on L'Oreal. And that's 2012. And I'm dating myself here, but that's right before the whole men's grooming and beauty market blew up, right? So at that point, L'Oreal had Kiehl's, but that was more unisex. And they really didn't have a key men's business yet. So I was one of the experts in the business. I was able to have visibility to Paris because it was a French based company, French owned. So I was able to have frequent interaction to the highest level of the company at an early age, because I was the only expert on it at the time.
That's pretty cool. And then from there, what was the next gig?
Tried out a little stint in wine and spirits and learned a lot about that world. I was a young man back then, and I loved dining. I loved nightlife. I loved, food culture, and I loved, just that whole world. I still do, not as much nightlife. And I wanted to be in that business. And I thought, I'm in, lifestyle. Where can I apply my skills directly? That's, and I'll give you a little quick aside. I got to the point where I was at L'Oreal and you always take calls to keep yourself sharp until you always, keep yourself sharp that way. I noticed when I was having headhunters reach out to me, recruiters, the types of roles started, being more and more narrow. And I was like, wait a minute, if I stay here too much longer, I'm going to end up being a beauty marketer. I want to be a beauty marketer. I want to be a marketer. So that's when I was like, wait a minute, don't get pigeonholed, Stinson. Figure out how you can widen your aperture a little bit and get a little bit more experience. So I thought about what my next role should be. I thought about, where I could apply my skills that I learned up to that point. Lifestyle, beauty marketing, lifestyle, wine and spirits. That's tangential, right? And I also love the industry. And that's where I went next. So I went to a small, more of a family-owned business called Deutsche Family Wine and Spirits. They own Yellowtail. They own
Oh yeah, Yellowtail's big. Yeah.
and they own Josh too. Have you heard of Josh?
Josh Wine, yeah.
I was there when that first got started. Now it's bigger than Yellowtail. But they're starting to try to start a spirits division, and they're very successful on the wine side. What they didn't realize, they're one of the only people who really spent advertising dollars on the wine side. And when they started entering the spirits division, you got players like Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Johnny Walker, etc. You have to spend massive amounts of money, and I don't think the family wanted to invest that kind of money. So I learned a lot about not just the culture of working for a family-owned business, resourcing, like, they didn't want to invest. Um, Other culture things like diversity, there wasn't much diversity there. I saw all these things when I was interviewing, but I kind of was blind to them. I was ready to get out. I was in a rush. But that didn't work out, even though I crushed that role, didn't work out, let that roll. And I was like, you know what, Stinson, take your time for your next thing. Don't rush into anything next for your next role and find that next right thing. Took my time, and that's when I found PepsiCo.
And what did you focus on at Pepsi?
So I came in as a strategy innovation lead for Amp Energy, which I don't think is around anymore, but it was a spinoff of Mountain Dew for the energy drinks business. So did some innovation work there, which totally wasn't my wheelhouse. I was so young though, so I was still learning everything. I ended up, being very successful in that role. And Amp Energy, as I mentioned, was part of the Mountain Dew team. This is when I like to call out that you have to have people who see something in you that you may not see in yourself. There was a gentleman, I think you know him, Jamal Henderson.
Of course.
So he was like, Stinson, I think you'd be pretty good for this role that's opening up on the team, being social and digital. You should really, you should post for it. And he saw something in me that I didn't even know I could do. And as you know, I was able to do some amazing work there on Mountain Dew. We ended up being, named hot digital marketer that year. Did some awesome work as far as Super Bowl campaigns. Puppy Monkey Baby was the most talked about Super Bowl spot that year. And VR, early AR, lots of culture work, made some movies. So really did some of the best work of my career in that role.
That's awesome. And you also worked at the content studio?
Yes. So I think you noted that I call myself an entrepreneur. I like to build businesses for big businesses. And we got to build up that whole capability for the whole global network of PepsiCo, the mammoth company that is, 250,000 employees, to the point where they call it a system. You have to be able to influence a system. I think my time now at PepsiCo more of a politician than anything, because you have to be able to influence literally from purchase, which is where the headquarters are up in White Plains or Westchester County, all the way down to the foot soldiers all around the world who are placing your soda bottles on the shelves of local, grocery stores all around the world. You have to convince them to believe in your message. So I learned a lot about persuasion in that role, and I learned how to sell things really, and sell and move hearts and minds. So I got to move systems in PepsiCo, which really I thought was the coolest thing I did there.
And then from Pepsi, you went to Amex?
Yes, so I was at PepsiCo, as you know, doing some awesome work with one of my now mentors, Lou Arbiter, career icon for me, and learned a lot under his tutelage. And I realized at that point that even though I was doing some amazing work, they got me for cheap because I didn't have much leverage when I got that role. Right, I learned that I was undervalued, and I don't know if you know when pay transparency came out, right? But that's when you could learn about what people at your level and what you're doing with similar pay rates, right? And that kind of came about right around then. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm undervalued. I need to go recognize my value. And that's when I was like, okay, even though I love what I'm doing, all these, Uncle Drew, work in China, J Bob in Latin America, I knew I could be doing more and being valued better. That's why I decided to leave.
And then what was your role at Amex?
So funny, I got to lead, I had the pleasure and honor to lead global social media for the company. When I first started interviewing, and I love telling this story, I saw they had a role leading talent for the company. It was a director level. And the one thing I couldn't get at PepsiCo was the director title. And I was like, wait, I want a director level role. Let me get this. I was working with talent like Kyrie Irving and Dave Alvin, etc. I was like, I can do that role. And I went and interviewed for the role, and Amex told me, Stinson, you're way too overqualified. I was like, really? This director level, I couldn't get this at PepsiCo. And they're like, yes, you can be doing much more here. And they told me, let's call you back when we have some more of your level available. You usually hear that sometimes in interviews, and they never call you back. They actually reached back out to me a couple months later for this role, leading social media. So that's how I ended up getting it, and it was awesome.
And tell me what you're doing now, by the way.
So it's going to sound crazy and bold and wild, but I know I'm changing the world. It starts one person at a time. It starts one conversation at a time. It starts one community at a time. And I'm sure you have that conversation at one point in your life that change your life. Can you think of that conversation?
I can think of a few. Yeah.
Exactly. So I believe if you really think about it, you can do it. You just have to figure out how you want to do it and what you want to focus on.
So tell me how you're changing the world and what you're focused on.
So to go big, you have to go small and you have to focus. And I spent a lot of time. I left Amex May of last year. It took me until end of last year to formulate my plan. 7 months. I spoke to a lot of people smarter than me. I learned and I focused. And I built my 4 pillars because you can't, achieve what you can't measure. And I was like, I need 4 things. And this is another thing I learned at PepsiCo. The way to convince people of anything is maximum 4 things. If you have any more than 4, they'll forget. So I was like, let me think of my 4. The first one is accessibility. The second one is youth. The third one is local community and your local, neighborhood. And the fourth one is the arts. And I can go into each of those further, but those are my four pillars.
What are you doing with those four pillars?
So, did you realize, or do you realize, that the disabled minority is the only minority you can join at any point in life that's still acceptable to discriminate against? I repeat that again. The disability community is the only minority you can join at any point in life that's still acceptable to discriminate against. Think about that. Even though the ADA passed 35 some years ago, because necessary time and money that it takes to update this ableist world we live in, I'm still discriminated against being a wheelchair user. I still do not have access to so many places, even in New York City, the world's capital, the capital of at least America, if we live in capitals. It's not DC as far as culture and finance and fashion, etc. It's New York City. Even in a city that I choose to live in for the last 17 years, I cannot just show up to a place because I don't know if they'll be welcoming to me. That's a major problem.
And so is your mission to get accessibility in cities around the world? Give me I get the pillars, but tell me how they all come together.
So let's start with accessibility. You can't boil the ocean. You can't, change. You have to do what's within your realm, right? And I'm starting with New York City, and I'm starting with different industries. So I'm very privileged to be on an advisor to this great organization called Open Style Lab. They're all about accessible fashion and style for all abilities. So it doesn't matter if you have a limb loss. It doesn't matter if you're wheelchair. It doesn't matter if you're, any disability. We are about servicing you and making sure that you can feel good in your own skin. And who doesn't want to feel good in their own skin? So I'm very proud and privileged to be able to, be an advisor to that great organization. And they have a very different approach. It's an interdisciplinary approach to design. So they start with a disabled expert at the center of the design process. And they have a designer, they have an occupational therapist from a physical, capabilities perspective. They have engineers that also collaborate with them. What we do each summer for our big marquee event that's now international, we just launched our first one in the UK this past summer. We develop solutions and products for disabled bodies because we know that accessibility is the key gap in the overall fashion and landscape. So I'm very proud and privileged to be a part of that.
So these are kind of like your life pillars, your work pillars. How do you turn this into like how you focused on that as a career?
Jason, that's a great question.
Thank you. That's my job.
So I'm very blessed where I never have to work another day in my life. That's a blessing. I would not have chosen the way it happened. I had to deal with a lot of pain to get here. I was literally dead for a month in a coma. I was in the hospital for a year and a half during COVID. The darkest of times.
Wait, how long?
A year and a half.
Fuck. Okay.
And death happening all around me. New York City, ground zero. Literally getting taken care of in hazmat suits. And by the grace of God, I believe in God because I don't know how else I'm here. By the grace of God, I'm here. And now, I tried going back to work for 3 years after that, successfully. But it got to a point where I was like, no, Stinson, you have to put you first. Your health is your wealth.
Yeah.
If you die tomorrow, you can't do anything else. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop working. It wasn't by choice, actually. That's a story for another day. But I had, the opportunity to leave work.
But it worked. It worked out well because it was kind of a wake up call for you to do something else.
It was a wake up call I needed. I didn't plan this, but I'm happy it happened. And that's what's crazy is now I can look at my injury, which one of the worst things that ever happened to me, as a blessing. That allows me to have this next chapter. It allows me to have impact. It allows me to change lives and worlds and the world. So that's what I'm on now. I'm changing the world.
Accessibility, I think you covered. Then you got youth, arts, and community.
Okay, let's talk about youth.
Okay.
I'm a huge beneficiary of people seeing something in me before I saw something in myself. Since I was a kid, I'm from the inner city of LA, South Central, if anybody knows LA. Did not have to go to Brentwood, did not have to go to UPenn, did not have to make it to New York City. I did not have to be here. But people saw something in me that I didn't see in myself many times over. That's why I am here where I am today. Because people saw something in me. I want to have that same effect on other lives of young people. So I'm very proud and privileged, again, to be on the board of a great organization called Behind the Book. It's all about inspiring a love for learning in inner city school children of New York City. And that's another way of not just touching my youth pillar, but also touching my local community, which is another one of my pillars. And really, driving up these crazy literacy rates. Do you realize how low the literacy rates are, not just in New York City, but in America? They're horrible. People will graduate college or high school, I'm sorry, with an eighth grade reading level, if that. The large majority.
That's scary.
It's heartbreaking. Not just scary, but heartbreaking. So I'm working on improving that to the best of my ability, at least in New York City.
Okay, and then arts.
So as you can see, I'm a big arts fan based on the work behind me.
Yeah.
Um, I started off as a fan, and now I'm proud to call myself a collector. And I believe in the arts ability not only to spark ideas, to bring people together in the community, but to change minds and spark new ideas. I think I said it already. But I've had the arts heal me. I mentioned I was in hospital and rehab for 3.5 during COVID. You couldn't have friends or family visit you.
Holy fuck, dude.
I know. Living hell. At the end of that, they had an activity where it's like, okay, you can go outside, guys, as inpatients. And this one I learned a few things. Do you know that New York City Health and Hospitals has one of the biggest art collections in the country?
No, I did not know that.
I think it was part of the New Deal. Whoever president that was, I think it's FDR.
FDR.
Yep. He was like, if you're going to get government money, you have to dedicate a percentage of your budget to the arts. Because he recognized that the arts were good for society. And since that point, they've been investing in the arts, and their whole hospital system, dozen hospitals around New York City, since that point for the last 100+ years. They have a massive art collection. And not just that, but they also have artists and collectors that will donate and commission arts. I saw a big Keith Haring mural that was done in the Bronx. And at the hospital I was at, Gouverneur in the Lower East Side, there's a huge mural outside the hospital. And part of it was, they have art therapy in classes I did as well. It's more regular in all rehabs. But the specific activity we did was like, okay, we need to rehabilitate this mural outside the hospital. Get outside the hospital bedrooms and come outside and help us rehabilitate this mural. I get emotional thinking about it. That was my first time going outside in months.
Oof.
And feeling the sun on my skin. The sun on my skin. I felt art heal me. I had art heal me. So now I'm very proud and privileged and to be able to be a part of the Black Arts Council at MoMA. I'm a founding member of The Shed, a founding member of Perlman Arts Center down in downtown by World Trade. I'm also a member of the Whitney. So I'm proud to be, involved in the arts,
Supporter of the arts.
a supporter of the arts. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. All right, keep going. Community.
So Behind the Book fits in that. Of course, New York City, building back community. I'm more active in my local church, FCBC up in Harlem. But what better way to affect change than on a grassroots, hand-to-hand, ground level combat, right? And I call it combat because it is combat. You have to fight. That's what it's not. It's not going to happen easily. You have to fight. It takes will and courage. It takes hard work. I know I'm going to fight right now. I think what I'm doing, especially in these times, is a fight right now because a lot of this is considered DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Who would think that those words are dirty words? Being diverse, being equitable, being inclusive. But for some reason they are right now. So I know that I have a lot of work to do, and I'm very happy to be able to do this work.
So I was thinking, how are you tying these together? but they don't necessarily need to be tied together because basically where you are in your life and your career, you've realized the four things you want to do to make change in the world.
Yes. And you bring up another thing that I think it's important to call out is when I retired early, I was only 39. I knew I had a whole life ahead of me
Yeah.
to the point where I had an identity crisis. I was like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Literally, what are you going to do, Stinson? I had no idea. I had to reprogram myself, literally hard reset, system reset to not what are you going to do, but what do you get to do? Who do you get to help? Who do you get to serve? With all these skills you built up, with all these networks, with all this community, with all these big brands you've worked at. I think the brands I got to work at, the companies, as other institutions of learning, it's not just UPenn. I went to school of Real. I went to school of Mattel. I went to school of PepsiCo. I went to school of Amex. These are all great universities and learning environments. So now that I have all those skills and all those ways of thinking and all these tools, who do I get to help? Who do I get to serve? That's how I built my plan.
Do you have a, I don't know, idea of in any of those pillars an outcome or an objective that you feel like you will have made the change you want to see?
I love you asked that. I think change happens one person at a time, one conversation at a time, one community at a time. It can be measured one family at a time. I don't know if you have a family. It's been
Yeah, I
a
have
while.
a family. Yeah.
How many kids?
Three kids.
You're changing the world by changing your family,
Yeah.
by
Sure.
putting and influencing those young minds. You're changing the world. How about that?
Well, there's one kid I got to work on, but yeah, I got you.
There's always one.
I love that. What's your favorite piece of art?
Oh man, that's like asking, well, who's your favorite kid?
I can answer
Well,
that.
you shouldn't be able to.
No, I can't answer that. I'm kidding.
So have you heard of Kara Walker?
No.
She's a black artist, a woman, of course, and she had a big sculpture that was in the old Domino Sugar Factory out in Brooklyn. If you remember that building,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
luxury condos. Do you remember what that sculpture was? It's a Sphinx. So I got to see that live. A 3-story tall black woman with a Mamie character. I don't know if you know what a Mamie character
Yeah,
is.
of course. Yeah.
A Mamie character for the face, but a Sphinx for the body. A queen. A black queen, 3 stories tall. So you look up at it, and the art is looking down at you. You're being looked at the art. You're being looked at, observed by the art, which is a whole different experience of seeing art. Usually, you're the one objectifying it. This art is objectifying you,
Oh, that's sick.
and not just that, but she also had these little sculptures. She called sugar babies, little children. I don't even know if you recall this whole slave trade, and the sugar industry was empowered by the slave industry, right?
That statue is white, right?
It was white. It was made out of
Okay.
sugar.
Oh, right. Okay.
And she had little sugar babies, which were made out of melted sugar. And since it was open air and sunlight was creeping through, the children were crying.
Holy shit. Fuck, dude, that's awesome.
So I got to experience that live and meet Kara. I got a poster from it signed over my bed. And to me, oh man, it reminds me of my mother.
Oh.
And I'm the sugar baby, and she's the black queen.
What year was that?
That had to be, man, 2013, 2014,
Oh, okay. Wow.
a long time ago. Maybe 2014, yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's still hanging over my bed. It's been hanging over since then.
What is it like now on the other side, now that you're retired, even though you're not really retired, you just changed into doing purpose driven work instead of corporate work? What's the biggest revelation for someone that's doing corporate work that's maybe still on the other side of where you are now? What advice would you give to that person?
Great question. I would urge everyone to think, what are you passionate about? What really lights you up? Not just in the office. I was lucky to find something I loved where I never felt like I worked a day in my life.
Oh, that's great.
So I would urge anyone to think about What really lights you up? What excites you? What would you do for free if money wasn't an issue? And figure out how you can incorporate that more into your day to day outside the office. It doesn't have to be in the office. How can you make that more of your part of your day to day routine, your schedule, the way you live? Activate that and just do that and live that. And I'm very proud to have thought about what excites me and what the biggest opportunity areas were. I kind of blended those two into the life I'm at now.
And then because you identified those pillars, you were able to go, okay, I'm going to be advisor for this. I'm going to reach out to this group. Because you had that roadmap. Without that roadmap, you wouldn't be making that impact. It'd be like scrambling. You'd be probably a little lost, right?
Shooting darts in the air.
You'd be shooting darts in the air. What disappoints you about humanity?
Self-interest.
You feel like everyone's about themselves?
No, I think people can be.
Yeah.
And that's a byproduct of capitalism, right? Winner takes all.
Yeah.
So I know that humans are built to be in community with each other. We're not, no man is an island.
No, that's correct.
And we can't do anything without other people.
We're social blood bags.
Exactly. So self-interest is the opposite of that. Self-interest will be the detriment. It'll be the death of us if we allow it to be. So that's what bums me out about human nature is that people can be self-interested because that's a lot of time the only way you can get ahead.
What in your work, what surprised you about humanity or made you optimistic about humanity?
So I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but I'm a wheelchair user now. And I also think I said that that's been the biggest gift of my life.
You did say that.
And why I say that is because it's opened me up to a whole fifth dimension. I now see the kindness in people. As people see me, and they see that I need help. And when you want to help, you help. There's a thing called the service industry. Their job is to serve you. I get the best service now at restaurants, at nightlife, or at concerts, wherever I go, because that's a service industry. They're like, this guy needs help. We're going to take care of him. Best seats in the house, everywhere I go, best service, best experiences.
So people kind of they hook you up.
Always front row.
What do you wish people understood about your daily experience?
That every day is a struggle. My days are not normal or easy. It's hard for me to get out of bed. But I still do every single day.
Yeah.
By the grace of God and a lot of help. But nothing comes easily at all.
Yeah.
I fight through. I'm a fighter. I've got a lot of fight in me. And as I said, that's needed more now than ever.
Do you have, I don't know, creators or activists or public figures that you really admire?
You're making me think of a mentor I found recently. I'm going to call him out. His name's George Gallego. He runs a place called the Access Project and Access Initiatives in East Harlem. It's not just a gym, it's community. It's the first and only gym built for wheelchair users. He's a wheelchair user. He's been at this life for 30 plus years.
Access, what's it called?
Access Project, AXIS Project in East Harlem. And it's not just a gym. There's a lot of places for disabled people to come together, and they call them SADC, social adult day camps. He's like, no, I'm not just going to have you come play bingo, watch TV, do whatever all the others do. I'm going to have you work out and get fit because an active lifestyle is a healthy lifestyle. So what we do is we go to the gym and we work out. I'll be back there this Thursday. I go twice a week. I try. And it's not just a gym. It's a community. It's people who share knowledge.
That sounds amazing.
I've now made so many friends. I met so many amazing people. Now you see how my action is a blessing. It introduced me to all these amazing people that I wouldn't have known had that not happened.
Do you have a mantra or a quote that guides the purpose-driven work that you do?
I'm going to steal Nikes. Just do it.
All right.
It's always hard until you make it happen. It's always impossible until it's done. Just do it. Take that first step. Make that first decision. Do that first thing. Read that first page. Just do it.
What would you recommend if people are listening and they want to participate or get involved in, I don't know, any one of your pillars?
I'll call out behind the book because we need some support. We always need support. As you know, this current political environment is making it hard for a lot of these companies and organizations to get the funds they need, right?
Yeah.
And I would urge anyone who is listening to look up behind the book, behindthebook.org, and see if that's something that you want to maybe support. Changing young children's lives. I don't know, unless you hate kids, maybe you want to support us.
I love that.
I think that what I'm doing sounds big and crazy, like you can't do it. Maybe people are stuck in their day jobs 9 to 5. But I would urge everyone to think about what they can do, especially these days, in their local community, in their realm of influence, in their sphere of influence, to have an impact and to change things. Because we need change now more than ever. So it could be on your local softball team or your kids' team. It could be at your own school. It could be in your own community. I would urge everyone to think about what those 3 things you think you can do to have an impact and start doing them. And that's my urge to everyone who's listening.
Well, thanks for your time and being on the podcast. You're the man. I'm glad we got to do this. I hope
Thank
you
you for
found
the
it
opportunity.
worthwhile. Of course. I can't wait for people to hear it.
And I want you to know that I don't know many people who've discovered their purpose. When you think about what your purpose is, and if and when you find it, you realize that you've been living it maybe in different ways throughout your whole life. And I know this is part of my purpose, getting my message out there. So thank you for allowing me to live my purpose by joining this podcast.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.